Internet, what is up? The Lone Element Podcast is back, and we have a fantastic guest today, the wonderful and amazing Mike Pappas of Dead Air fame. So we finally got this interview put together and executed. It was a bit in the making. We discussed doing this at SHOT Show back in January of this year, and we wandered into the Dead Air booth and had a fantastic conversation with Mike, and he was happy to do the interview, but unfortunately we didn't get a chance to execute it until just now. But we got it done. We got it put together, and it's ready for you guys to enjoy. Special thanks to Nick and Justin, the marketing team over at Dead Air, and to Mike. We had a fantastic time. It was amazing getting to see behind the curtain of Dead Air, doing the headquarters and factory tour over in Utah. And then sitting down at their headquarters, and they were gracious enough to let us use their studio. And we had a great interview and a great time. Hopefully we'll be doing more with the Dead Air fellas going into 25. But we're back, and I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. But what would the podcast be without sponsors? So this episode of the podcast has been brought to you by BC Precision Ballistics. They are a bunch of fine gentlemen out of the fine state of Texas, down in San Antonio area, and they are the proprietors and inventors of the 6mm Max round, which, in my opinion, has a really good chance of sunsetting the venerable 5.56 round. The performance of this bullet and what it can do out of shorter platforms and the velocities and the pressures that it operates at, in my opinion, is far superior to the 6mm arc. So if you're a 6 arc fan and you've got one of those guns, or you've been following the 6 arc, thinking about jumping into the 6mm pond, I would highly advise that you go check out the 6mm Max, and you can do that on their gram at BCPB 6mm Max, or go check them out on their website, bcprecisionballistics.com. We're going to be doing a bunch of exciting things and working together with those guys going into 25 with marketing and with combat development and R&D. So can't say enough good things about them. They're great dudes. They are making an amazing product that I think is disruptive technology, and I'm excited for the future of what this round is going to do. So go check them out. And without further ado, let's get after this interview. Sweet. Internet, what is up? We gotta sync the audio. I almost fucked that up. We're here in the Dead Air headquarters with the janitor.
Well,
and the marketing guy, and
I do a little janitorial. Yeah. That is for certain.
Yeah.
But my official title is Field Marshal.
Field Marshal.
You don't have to address me as that or anything. I don't even know what it means. I just thought it sounded cool.
I like the Field Marshal title. What exactly other things do you do? Because we hear that you're not just your typical CEO, founder, owner that sits in the office with your desk.
Well, we actually have a CEO.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
It's not you.
No, it's not me.
Okay.
We have, some really good business people.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, I would tell you that we are a passion business, mostly populated by firearms people, if that makes sense. I would say what I do, I try to do a little bit of everything. If anything needs to be done, sales trips.
Yep.
I've been spending a lot of time in QA because we are really backed up there at this time. But sometimes I do, and I've done a lot of packaging, and I help in R&D. I try to come up with some ideas and throw a few things out there and help in that regard. And I do a lot of testing, and then, of course, we do a lot of meetings and,
those are always my favorite.
Actual company. I love a good Zoom meeting.
So do I.
If you can stretch it out for 2-3 hours, highlight of my day.
Yeah. My favorite part is at the end of that 3 hours when people are still asking the dumbest questions on the planet that 90% of the people on the meeting don't need to be around for. That's my favorite. I love that.
Who doesn't?
If I could get more of that in my lilife, like lots of 3-hour Zoom meetings with people asking stupid fucking questions at the end,
If I can get 3s, I'll take the 2s where I can.
Yeah, I mean, my life will be complete if I could just do that more often. So
Fair.
Yeah. Okay, so you are the janitor and good idea fairy and overall helper guy.
I just try to pitch in where I can, you know. I'm a regular worker bee, and where the work needs to be done, I try to go there.
Well, I value that because I've been inside my 20 years in this industry. I've been inside several business units, either as a consultant or here to just help people that I love and respect in the industry promote their brands and promote their products. And I'm disappointed to say that it is not a regular thing for me to see founders, presidents, CEOs like rolling up their sleeves and standing in front of the bench helping out with whatever needs to get done.
And I actually know why they don't do that.
Why is that?
Because it sucks.
Yeah.
That's their reasoning. Like I'll go to, I think we have TriggerCon coming up, for example, and to go across the country and all the travel and everything that goes along with that, and to do a long, hot, hard range day and then a trade show-esque gun show style of indoor talking to people, really not that fun and a lot of hard work. And I notice when people when they get the ability to stop doing that, they do stop doing that. And I think that's cool, like do what you want, but I think it makes a difference, like to your customer. Customer may want to actually speak with you, and I like to be available for them.
Yeah, I think that's it's a phenomenal philosophy, and it's one of the reasons why we're sitting here at this table right now, because the time that I've spent in this industry doing consulting work for design or media or whatever, and walking around and having the experiences with some humans I've had, which hasn't been great, or some companies that I've had that hasn't been great. You grow thick skin, but then you also kind of get a little bit cynical sometimes. And we were at SHOT Show this last year, and we walked by the booth, and Alex was like, "Hey," his call sign's Cato. Everybody calls him Cato. Feel free to call him Cato.
Cato.
Yeah. So we were walking by and we saw your guys' booth, and he goes, "Hey, let's swing over the dead air stuff and see what new stuff they've got going on." And I was like, "Yeah, that's great, because we have your products, we shoot your products, love your products." So I was like, "Cool, yeah, let's swing over there." And then we saw you standing in the booth, and nobody was talking to you. You were standing there by yourself. And I was like, well, we looked at each other, and he said, "Let's go talk to Pappas." And I said, "All right, game on. Let's see." And I think I even told you to your face, like it was a meet your heroes that went right, because you immediately cracked off with a joke. Like we walked up and we're like, "Hey," and introduce ourselves. We're like, "So how's the show going for you?" You said, "Oh, it's going pretty good, but I'm just standing here trying to get a urinary tract infection right now."
Well,
because you've been standing there for so.
Sometimes that happens.
Yeah. So that gave me a good laugh, and then we dove into product. But you were just very friendly and personable, and exactly the type of human that I like to have interactions with. So
I'm a big believer in. Look, I think everybody, and I wrongfully do this. I don't know, but it's just the way that I look at people. I don't look at people as above or below me, and when I engage and speak to a person, like I'm not looking at my phone or trying to get rid of them or blow them off. Like I talk to people until they're done talking to me, and then they leave. Like I never initiate I don't try to get them to get out of there.
Yeah.
And I think people appreciate that. It's just, that's the respect you give your fellow man, and you just, I'm there to communicate with people, right?
Yeah, I think that's great, because that's the type of person I am too, and that's how I, that's how I was raised, being brought up on a small ranch in Wyoming. Like my uncle and grandfather were very, your word is your bond, and you're accountable for the words that come out of your mouth. So be careful what you say, because I didn't grow up in the era of social media or the internet, so like you were accountable, and if you ran your mouth recklessly, you usually got a fist in your teeth if you weren't careful. So I've still carried that through the rest of my life, and that's why, I don't know, in the current climate with like what we are, some people in this industry have been like, "Well, Brian, he's an asshole." And it's just because I'm a straight shooter. I don't bullshit people. And if you're fucked up, I'm going to say, "Hey," like I probably won't unless I have to. I'll meet people where they're at. And if you're an asshole to me, then I will definitely just meet you right there, and we can just get after it. But
Fair.
if you're nice and you're accommodating, you're a great person, then I will also meet you right there, that's how I conduct myself. And I'm not a type of person that if the shit talking fires up, I'm not the type of person that will back away from that at all. So
Admirable.
yeah. So I enjoy finding other humans in the industry that are like-minded in that regard. So
Sure.
yeah. So speaking of that, I would like to back up and talk about the Mike Pappas origin story. So where
Tell me where you want to start, and I can make it kind of.
let's hit the wave tops, because I know that that probably at this point could be a long story. So let's go with, and I'll stay here as long as you want to. So if you want to make this like a 6-hour podcast, we can do that.
I don't have any intention of doing that to the poor people that are listening.
Okay,
I'd like to say that.
I mean, I'll give you a urinary tract infection at this table, because we'll just sit here until 2 o'clock in the morning.
I'm at home. I'll do what I want here, and I'm not getting a urinary tract infection.
I love it. Okay.
We'll have to open the door and air it out.
Yeah. Well, let's like where'd you grow up, and then hit the wave tops from then to right now?
I was born in Salt Lake.
Okay.
And I've never lived anywhere but in Utah. And as a child, I lived around the Salt Lake Valley a little bit. My parents are, how could I say this without, I don't trying to, some kind of sad story or whatever, like politicians do, but my parents are or were high school pregnancy in the time when you got married. So, we didn't, I'm not saying I had a bad life on any means, but, they got divorced when I was a child, and so we moved around a little bit. I grew up here in Heber. I went to high school here in Heber. Wasp, go Wasps. Graduated in 19 and 8-4.
Oh, okay.
So it's been a while, and then I've lived in Camas for the past 30 years.
Okay.
We built a house there, and that's where I live. So that's kind of my regular story, other than the fact that I've always been super interested in mechanics and guns. Those kind of two things have always lifetime interest for me. So. And
when did you discover that? When did that that switch get flipped for you? At what age were you, or what situation happened where you're like, I love wrenching on things?
I think probably really when I started, I think it really spooled up when I started to drive, and then I started working on cars. Before that, I just, like a kid, but I didn't know anything, but I'd love to take things apart. If we were throwing something, I wanted to take it apart and see what was in there and how it worked.
See what was going on, huh?
Just super interesting. And then I did that for, I think maybe 18 or so years. I made my living as a mechanic, and that really has helped me mechanically to figure things out in the gun side.
Yeah, and so what did you work for anybody else's shops, or was it always just something that you did? Did you own your own mechanicking business, or
I had a partner, and we had a shop for about 6 years, and mostly I worked for other people, mom and pop shops. I've never worked at a dealership, just regular corner type mechanic shops, family owned kind of, smaller stuff. So I've cut a very, very wide swath on the mechanical side. Cars, trucks, medium trucks, 5-ton-ish kind of, some tractors, boats, I've been kind of all over the gamut there. So.
And so then so that's how you got started. So you went right into mechanicking right out of high school.
Yeah, pretty much. I got my airframe and power plant mechanics license, and I wanted to mechanic, but, do well financially. An aircraft mechanic does a little better than an auto mechanic or diesel mechanic per se. About halfway through school, I realized that would be a lot of traveling and moving, and I knew I was never going to do that. So I stayed and got my airframe and power plant mechanics license, knowing I would never use it, and I went into automotive after that. I couldn't stand the thought of moving.
What's kept you grounded to this community for so long?
I think you get roots, and it's just way easier to stay in a place. And as over the last 20 or so years that I've done a ton of travel, I know for certain I don't want to go. I've been in every state we have and all over and multiple times and the big cities and the outline, and there's just not another place that I'd want to live. So I'm thankful that I stayed here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'd say that that's pretty unique, especially with the current climate, the way things are now. People, it's pretty regular. I mean, I've lived all over, hell and gone. So,
well, it's luck, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you were born in the wherever it was that you chose to live, maybe you'd have stayed. I don't know.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I couldn't wait to get, out of my small town. I grew up in Casper, Wyoming, so isn't even that small anymore. But back then it was, and you and I aren't too terribly far apart. I graduated in '95, so I liked my small town. Enjoyed the outdoor aspects of it, snowboarded and rock climbed, and loved being hunted and fished, and loved all of that. But I wanted to go out and see the world. I wanted to go see what was beyond the borders of town and beyond, Wyoming as a state. And so I went and adventured my ass off, and I'm still kind of that way. I'm still a very nomadic human being.
Well, I think a lot of people share that. Yeah. I've never enjoyed travel.
Really? Okay.
Ever since a kid.
Yeah.
Like it's just not something I'm into.
Well, you picked a hell of a job here
I do it.
Yeah, requires
but
travel.
I don't like doing it.
Yeah.
But that's just with a lot of things in life, right? Like, think of all the things that you do that you don't like to do, but you do it anyway.
Yeah.
Travel, that's one for me.
That's a bonus for me, because I love it. So I'm opposite of you in that. I absolutely love traveling. I love going to new places, meeting new people. What's your favorite place outside of, you hate traveling, but like, is there one spot outside of Camas or Utah where you don't mind going there because you're like, oh, okay, I don't mind this place so much. It's pretty good.
No.
No,
there's not. In all honesty, I got to pick. I would go home. I think of it from this perspective, and this may not apply to a lot of people and may never apply to you. Yeah. And that's like, it's just all about finding your path in life. Mm-hmm. If you're comfortable with and happy and don't want to change your spouse, your house and its location and your mode of transportation, these are the big things that really stop a person in life, I believe. Yeah. And job, obviously. But if you're happy with all those, then you couldn't make me happier than let me go home. I have everything there that I want. It's set up exactly the way that I want it. And that's like my dream. Like, I really enjoy going home and being home. I try to play this little game on the weekends where I try not to leave the house.
How's that working out for you?
It's pretty good.
Okay. So you're succeeding at it.
I do quite a bit, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Like, I left when we just had, Memorial Day? Labor Day?
Labor Day.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a holiday.
I don't know either. I blink and all the shit happens.
I think I left my house one time during that.
Okay.
I just, and I was busy. I cut a bunch of wood. I cut and split and stacked wood.
What else do you do while you're home?
Well, I do, and it varies. I'm kind of, it's a peak and valley kind of a thing with me, right? And I do a lot of car repair for people, and it kind of comes in waves. Like, a friend of mine texted me earlier in this evening, he's going to come over, and he put a heater core in a Jeep, and I'm going to evacuate and charge his AC, right? No big deal, but I sometimes do a bunch of mechanical work, and that keeps me busy. Then I go on to some hand-loading tangents from time to time.
Okay, good.
And then I have my own, mechanical things I want to do. And right now I'm going to revamp my storage area. It's like a secondary garage. I call it a barn.
Yeah.
In my barn, I'm going to revamp my storage area and rearrange a large portion of my toolbox.
I've heard about this toolbox.
That should take me a couple months.
A couple months to reorganize.
To do what I want to do there, right?
Okay.
Very entertaining.
Okay.
I'm gonna change where I keep my fasteners, nuts and bolts and stuff. Super exciting, right? Could you imagine?
Why? So what is shifting this? Have you discovered after how many years that they've been in this current configuration, it's no longer efficient enough for you?
Yeah, that's exactly right. But I'd probably change it, maybe some pretty good changes, probably about once a year or so.
Okay.
I start looking at my box and I'm like, I'm going to split these into more drawers and switch the way that I organize. And it's just a thing I do. Like, I find it very entertaining. I can do it for hours. It's like, and then when I'm done, like, my life's better. This is why I don't, and I'm not, look, hey, if you jet ski, snowmobile, boat ski, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
The thing that you entertain, like, I like to get something done and make my life better.
We have the same disease, except ours is revolves more around guns. We like to sit for hours and tool on guns and be like, okay, do you think this barrel shot out yet? I don't know. What's the chrono at? I don't know. What's the accuracy doing? Okay, we might be able to squeeze more out of it. Or we might be like, yeah, okay, we need to go get that swapped out this week. And then optics are always a big thing with us, swapping out, trying to find the perfect optics setup for what we're doing with that particular
I like that.
tool. So yeah, we find ourselves tinkering quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that kind of a evening when you're in the mood thing, like you have some stuff that you want to do and you can do it and then feel a little accomplished. I don't per se sit and watch a ton of TV as a rule.
We have like our dedicated cinema time, and it's usually at the end of the day, like after everything is wrapped up, we've done everything, the gun tooling's done, the organization of the gear's done, all the battery charging of all of our 9 million optics or 9 million devices that we have to keep a battery charged for production. When all that's done, dinner's made, then we're like, okay, well, I guess we've got time for a show.
Fair.
So then we'll sit and watch a show. And
I like that, and sometimes I want to do that.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just want to turn off and not do anything.
Yeah.
You know? A little variety, right?
Yeah, you gotta have that. So you went right into wrenching on vehicles. At what point did you grow up with firearms? Like, when was the first time you shot a gun?
A little bit. My father was kind of pseudo into guns. Not like to a great degree, but certainly gun friendly. And as I look back on it now, like, I think he thought he knew a lot more than I think he knew, if that makes sense. But we always had guns and shotguns, and I, about 12-ish or so, and I still have it. It's actually at my house right now, a 22 Magnum bolt gun. It's like a Savage. That's what I grew up on through junior high and high school. And that was the first gun that I ever really had, Christmas gift. And then right around that time, I started. Are you very familiar with the Heber area?
I am not, no.
Okay.
I mean, I've driven through here several times, but I'm not super familiar with like the good spots, no.
Okay, there's a place called the Homestead in Midway.
Okay.
And I started washing dishes there when I was 12. And my father let me buy a 357 Mag Ruger, like super Blackhawk stainless.
Okay.
And so I
that was your first gun.
With that and shot the first one I bought. Yeah.
What was your very first one that he got for you?
That 22 Mag.
The 22 Mag. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so then you bought yourself a 357.
Yeah, right around that time. It was one of the first like things I bought when I started making money. It was like $200. It was maybe like 12-ish, 13. I don't know, right in there, like a young teenager. I mean, I had a job, and it's like, I want a hog leg. Like, what I really wanted was a 1911, but he said those sucked.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't let me buy that.
Wouldn't let you buy a 1911.
He was like, you can buy this, and I was like, dude, that's like cool. Like, I've
got
a Magnum freaking revolver.
Yeah,
I made the most of it.
So what did you? So you liked the 1911, but he told you no, you got to buy this instead. And so did you like that gun? And you're like, oh yeah, or were you like?
Well, I liked it in the way that, like, dude, it was like a Magnum revolver.
Yeah.
And I had a riot with it, and I shot the tar out of it.
How long was the barrel?
6 3/4. But I would have preferred something else. And hey, that's way better than nothing. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, great memories.
That's awesome. So you bought that and then proceeded to shoot it until did you shoot it until it broke and then you had to figure out how to fix it?
No, it actually never had any trouble. It was perfect.
Do you still have it?
No, I don't.
Oh no, what happened to it?
In my late teens, I sold it for some, needing some cash. And I just wasn't super into it. I should have kept it. You're right. But I didn't. Like, hey, youth. I mean, I've sold some stuff I wish I didn't sell, but it's part of growing
Yeah,
up. Right?
no, I agree. Yeah, I got divorced once upon a time, and it wiped out my entire gun collection. So I know
Fair.
I had to, well, not my entire gun collection. I managed to hang on to a couple of guns that I had sentimental value around. One was my very first handgun was a H&K USP 9mm.
Oh, nice.
And I bought that, and then I actually ended up taking that to Iraq during the invasion and carrying that with me during the invasion. So like I still have that gun. That gun's never going to go anywhere. My first rifle that I got when I was a kid, when I was 7, was a Marlin lever action 22, like breech loaded single shot. You like rack the lever down, and it's got the ramp on top, the receiver, and it goes down into the chamber. And then you had to cock it was a single action, so you had to cock the hammer back to shoot it.
Gotcha.
Have that guy.
You could do a lot more damage with that than people think as
Oh,
a
you
kid.
can. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yeah, that's the whole thing that we've discovered as should say rediscovered is the beauty of 22 and all the versatility that you can do with it, and realistically how quiet it is. Like if you have issues that need to be dealt with, like that's a great round that nobody's gonna like. It's better, in my opinion, is if you utilize it correctly, it could be better than 300 black.
It has its place.
And it does have its place.
It definitely has its place. I like to look at them as tools and specialty tools. You know, like I'm not saying that you pick up a Half Moon or an S wrench very often. I'm not. When you want that, that's the right thing for the job. 22 definitely has places where it shines.
Oh.
And it's fun and cheap, and we can all afford to shoot it, right?
Yeah, we have a good friend of ours that was like not into guns for the longest time, and we got him slowly into guns, and he just recently picked up like it's an AK made by Mauser, and we went out to the range with him the other day, and he was giggling like a little kid at the carnival, just mag dumping 22 through his 22 AK, and thought it was the greatest thing in the world.
That's awesome.
And he's like, he literally said, this thing makes me so happy.
Good to find that.
Yeah. So we had a good day. Well, that was a good afternoon. But yeah, 22 is definitely an awesome bullet and has many applications. But yeah, you're right. Like all your firearms have a particular use case or use spectrum. That's how I like to look at it. When I always get like people that'll ask me like, hey, what gun do you think I should buy, that are newcomers to firearms and, never owned a firearm, but they're like, what should I buy? And my first question is, what do you like and what do you want to use it for? Like, what is it for? What are you going to be doing with this gun? Is it for self-defense? Is it for, is it for hunting? Is it for, target shooting, bench rush shooting? Are you going to compete with it? What are you doing with it? And then then the next question is, what's your budget? And then I can usually, based on what they like, what they're going to do with it, and how much money they have to spend, I can usually steer them in the right direction.
Fair.
Yeah.
That's a good way to do it.
Yeah. But every firearm, I agree, is like a tool in the toolbox and has a specific spectrum of use, for sure.
If it were me giving that same advice to a new gun person, I would say, get what appeals to you. Don't worry about all that.
Yeah.
Because you'll like it. Like this, for example, AK-22, not tons of practical use. It's a toy, but your friend really likes it.
He loved it.
Like, that's a good entry.
Yeah.
Then that could lead you to more practical. I don't know. There's just no wrong answer for that.
I think he burned through a 1,000-round brick that day, didn't he? Yeah. He was having such a good time.
Nice.
He shot up a 1,000-round brick because he was having such a good time.
He burned AK-22 in his MP.
Yeah.
He got his MP before the 22.
The whole time.
And I think like most of us, I go through little phases. I'll go through a phase where I want to shoot a lot of 50, and then it seems punishing and just hard and big and expensive. And then maybe I do a little sub-gun action, some PCC, something like that.
Yep.
Maybe a little rimfire, and then maybe I feel a little like dirty communist and I toy with some AKs a little bit, and then I'm now about to come back to classic stoner with a PRI Mark 12.
Oh, yes.
So that'll be fun.
Yeah, you were telling me about that earlier.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah, that will be fun. Is this your first foray into cloning, or do you have other guns that could be considered clones?
No, I've never. Good question. I'm not a cloner. I'm not so much trying to clone, although I appreciate that, and that's a art form of itself to track down all the little bits and get them together. Not, I get more into pre-bend 80s type firearms that are right.
Yeah.
More than a clone thing. Like, that's the thing that I'm attracted to. Like, the last one that I got, I purchased a sales guy, Tim, our Florida guy.
Yeah.
Well, excuse me, he used to be Florida. Rust Belt guy. Now, at the NRA show, said I have a unfired, perfect, with box, Beretta BM59 that factory came in the Alpine stock. I was like, let's do that.
Let's get after that.
Yeah, so like that's super cool, right? Like, kind of exciting, and I mean, I wouldn't call it a clone, but it has this kind of, it covers the same kind of ground, you know?
Yeah. I'm getting back to, or I should say, I'm getting to a point where I'm starting to appreciate all the different types of firearms now, instead of just what I knew and as a kid or what I was trained on in the military. Like, I like the cloning stuff too. I don't take it very seriously. As a matter of fact, one of our big jokes is when something isn't clone correct, you know, like,
fair.
It's like, I've got the whole gun like 99.9% clone correct, and then like my safety lever will be something that's not issue or something like that, and he'll take the piss out of me real good about it. That's not clone correct. You can't call it clone correct because the safety lever's not. Yeah. You're using Nalgene bottles right now. Those aren't GI issued canteens. So we have lots of jokes about that.
I think that goes to it scratches the human itch of the collection and making it right and getting everything lined up. And it's not easy, right? If it was easy, everyone would do it.
Right.
But it takes a lot of effort. And then it's like anything worth doing is going to be a little hard to do.
Yeah.
And I think that in the clone thing, that it scratches all those itches.
Yeah. Right now I have a Mark 18 Block 1 that is set up similar to a gun that I got issued and carried in my first rotation in Afghanistan. And the last piece of that puzzle that I need is a Knights NT4 suppressor.
Nice.
And I just, the main reason that I'm struggling with finishing that is there's something about spending $3,000 on a suppressor that I know is not really that good. That I have an issue with that. So I have yet, and not only that, they're really difficult to get your hands on. So I haven't got that last piece of the puzzle put on that gun yet. But
I would look at it like this: if you were to get that suppressor and pay fair market value, and then put it with your rifle and have the whole package, you're not spending your money. You're just changing it into something else, and you could change it back into money. So it's like, it's no different than buying anything else that for investment. You've spent the money in a way, but then you could get back out of it. See how I justify that?
yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Because if it all goes up in value,
Yeah.
then you get back into the U.S. dollar and have more dollars.
Yep. You can. I like that.
That's the way I would look at it.
So we've done a little gun math and a little gun investment, like some
Yeah,
some
like I like
investing
to.
strategies.
Sometimes I have to, justify it a little bit, make it make sense in my mind.
Yeah. So there's a percentage of your portfolio that you've invested in, not in terms of commodities. Instead of gold and silver, you've invested in quite a bit of lead.
I think everybody does, right?
People that know what's up and know how fast things go to shit when society comes unraveled will be happy that they invested in lots of lead.
Well, and that's like what very few, if anyone, you wouldn't keep, normal speak. Most people, they would put it in a 401k or some stocks or a house or whatever.
No, I completely know what you're talking about. There was a time, I would say, during the first great gun and ammunition depression, as I like to call it, when I think Bush went out of office and Obama got elected. Do you remember that? There was three years where you could not get, like, nearly the whole Obama's first term, the panic buying was so rampant that it fucked up the industry so bad that, like, I literally couldn't get my hands on anything that I wanted. But the thing that was good about that particular point in time is I had a really good friend who he was a doctor, and he was he was starting to panic about things too, and he wanted a AR, and he'd never owned one before. And so I had an old BCM that Paul gave me a few years ago that I'd shot the shit out of that gun. I don't think that thing would hit the broadside of a barn at 100 because I literally melted the damn barrel off that thing. I probably put 16,000 rounds through that gun, and it was just sitting there and was worn out, which is why I wasn't shooting it, but it had a EOTech on it. And I was honest with him. He was like, "Do you have any guns you sell me?" I said, "Yeah, I'll sell you this one right there." I said, "I've shot the shit out of it." I said, "You're probably going to need a new barrel on it." And he goes, "Well, if somebody invades my house, can I defend myself with it?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, you can still hit shit at 100 with it, but out to 100." But I was like, I wouldn't be trying to shoot past that with that gun. "Okay, but I can still protect my family with it." Yeah, you can do that." "Okay, well, how much do you want for it?" I was like, "Make me an offer." And he goes, "Well, I was thinking like $4,000. And I have no idea where he came up with these numbers. I'm assuming that he'd gone to other people or tried to buy, because the prices on guns, on
Crazy.
ARs during that time where you could not get any parts or you could not get any guns was like skyrocketing. And I about fell out of my seat, and I was like, "I don't think I could sleep at night if I charged you that much money." And he goes, No, I insist. He's like, he's a cardiac surgeon. So he's like, he makes plenty of coin. So he was like, no, I insist. So he bought and I tried to talk him out of it. I was like, "That gun, I've shot the shit out of it. It's not worth that much money." And I said, "I don't think I want to charge you that." And he's like, "Nope," and would not allow me to take less than what he originally offered. And so it gave me $4,000 for an old shot out BCM with an EOTech on it.
That worked out.
And I was like, "Oh, okay, there you go." So yeah, you're right. The guns are an investment depending on which one you buy and what time what's the current social climate going on.
Fair.
Yeah. So yeah, they're definitely an investment, and especially with clones. For whatever reason, clone stuff, like people will pay arm and leg for a good real clone.
If you have the whole thing.
Yes, if you have the whole thing. Yes, correct.
You need the whole ball of wax.
Yes, you do. Yeah, absolutely you do.
Reach out if you have a nice NT4.
Yeah, right. Yeah, if you guys got an NT4 you want to offload. Yeah, I know. I did recently sell a Pac 2 to one of my friends, but I have another one, so I have two Pac 2s.
So you're okay there.
I'm okay there. But so then at what point did you transition from being a mechanic into getting into the industry? Like, where was your entry point into the industry?
Well, I started and this was kind of unusual at the time. In the early 90s, I started to get into the NFA guns. Mm-hmm. And I bought my first machine gun, a Mac 11-9.
Oh, okay.
And that was probably, I'd have to look at the form. Let's say early 90s. I had a full head of hair. I looked beautiful. But at any rate, at that time, before the internet, most people didn't have a cell phone.
No.
And I knew a couple people with pagers, but that was about it. But everyone thought they were illegal. So I started to kind of delve into the machine guns and cans and, that sort of thing. And still, I was a mechanic, right? But I was just like more into guns than the average guy. And when the assault weapons ban came into play, about the time that the assault weapons ban came off, some years before that, not a few years before that, I don't know, it all blends together so much, maybe like a few years before, I started to work part-time for a gentleman named Stuart Walden that owns now a chain of gun stores, some locations, get some guns and ammo in Salt Lake.
Okay. I think I've driven by them several times.
He had a little tiny store, and it about the size of this room. If 4 people were in there, I'd notice, I just observed this, 4 people could stay in the store, but if a 5th or 6th came in, no one could move, and 2 or 3 people would leave. It was just a very small store. And I worked there every other Saturday just for fun because I enjoyed it. And then I did that for, 2 or 3 years maybe, a couple of years. And he kind of badgered me to quit mechanicking, career change, and manage this little tiny gun store. And one day I just said I'd do it. And I had a tow truck come and take my toolbox and take it at my house. And then I worked at the gun store. And the little gun store at the time, the biggest month that it had ever had in total sales was like 42,000 or 46 or something like that. After I'd worked there for 3 months, we did 150 in sales every month.
Oh, wow.
So it was awesome. And I got a percentage, right?
Yeah, so you quadrupled sales nearly.
Because yeah, right?
Yeah.
But Stuart was like, hey, I'm going to give you 20% of the profit.
Okay.
But we didn't have any profit.
Mm-hmm.
So it was not that big of a deal. And I was like, okay, like I think I can make some profit. And
Mm-hmm.
like I just enjoyed it. I didn't really worry about that much. But then I really liked going to work and I got to talk guns all day.
Mm-hmm.
And it just happened that we kind of became the assault rifle place, if you will. We were like a little hot spot for that. And that's all I'd ever messed with. And everybody was coming off of wooden bolt guns
Mm-hmm.
and they were all like, I want an AR-15. And
Yeah.
I was like,
Here you go.
I'll answer any question you have
Right.
and help them out. Like I'd been, shooting and working on them for a long time to that point. So it was very natural and easy for me. And I think that's why we grew so much. And then I was making killer money. It was awesome. I hauled some super cool things out of that store.
Yeah. And so how long did that last for?
That lasted until at that little tiny store I met Jonathan Schultz. He's an original Silencer Co. guy.
Okay.
And in that little store, Schultz approached me and said, I'm thinking about starting a silencer company. We started doing machine guns and cans and SBRs and all that at the little gun store. We got our SOT and we were doing really good with the NFA stuff and it was fun and easy and, So I talked with Schultz back and forth and I was like, I'm in. I want to do that. Let's start a silencer company. Decided to call it Silencer Co. And
Okay.
he introduced me to Waldron and we started Silencer Co. We raised money, made a little prospectus, and we had like 7 investors, and I think 5 of those I brought in, people that I knew.
Oh, nice.
And then we rented a building and made our first can, which was the Silencer Co. Sparrow, the 22 Sparrow.
Oh, wow. 22 can was the first one, huh?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, we didn't know what we were doing.
And what was
Right.
what year was this?
That was probably 7.
Yeah, 2007.
Yeah. I think we started to sell in 8, but I think we started it and
Started development in 7.
yeah, correct.
How long did it take you to get it to market where you were happy with it and you guys finally got it out the door? How long was the development?
Probably, that's a good question. 5 or 6 months maybe.
Okay,
We bought a machine.
Yeah.
We bought a mill turn that could do the milling.
Yeah.
We decided Schultz was dead set. He's like, I'm going to make it a monocore.
Okay.
And I was like, ooh, oh, that sucks, kind of. But I was in a little bit of a panic because, like, we were, like, all in. Like, we signed Waldron and his brother, and Schultz and I, like, we were, like, in horrific debt, right? And my question was this. Tell me why I want this. Like, why is someone going to buy this product from us? Like, what does it do? And no one could really come up with, like, I mean, it would be a, quality product and all that, yada, yada. But I was like, so? Like, I could buy this, that, or the other thing. And I thought for, like, 3 days, just, like, panicking. Right? Like, what do we do with this? Like, you put this monocore into a tube and shoot it, you'll never get it apart. So I then, actually in the bed that I still sleep in the house I live in, I woke up one morning and I had it. I was like, we're going to cut some half pipes or clamshells and put them on the core, right? Then slide the core into the tube and then shoot it till it's totally clogged up and then push it out because the half pipes or clamshells will slide out the tube, right? They're not glued to the tube. And then you can pop those off and clean the core out. So I told this to Schultz, and he was like, yeah, whatever. I was still working at the gun store, and it was shortly thereafter. I did a little part-time at the gun store and then totally quit the gun store and went to Silencer Co. full-time. But Schultz wasn't understanding what I was saying, and I could tell he wasn't understanding what I was saying. So I got off work, and I drove down there. I'm like, stay there. I'm coming down there, and it was Taco Tuesday. There was a taco Fiesta Bell or whatever around the corner. And he had a napkin from this taco place and a pen. And I drew and he was like, oh my God, like, that's it.
on a napkin from the taco
I
shop.
should have saved that napkin.
You should have, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know it was that big of a deal in my life, right? Like sometimes these things come and you can't recognize them. And then I left and I was like, okay, he gets it. And he made the 22 Sparrow. And it was awesome because unlike all the other cans on the market, everything you had to choose from, this one you could take apart when it was dirty. And that's how we started the company.
And so then,
And that was our one product to start with. We sold that. That's all we had.
and then what were sales that year?
Sales weren't very good.
No.
They were. We were just starting out. They were low.
Yeah.
We came out with then Schultz wanted to get, and this is kind of I guess we have advanced armament to thank for the whole thing. Schultz came into me and wanted to buy a silencer called the Black Box that came from Advanced Armament that they had shown, but they had not released. And I was like, bro, like, we're like a AAC shop here. Like, we sell their stuff, and I have it. And I said, I can tell you this about it. Like, I've got them on order. When they get here, I'll call you, and you can buy it and form it. And he was like, I want to pay for it now. And I was like, no, like, I get what you're saying. Like, you want to, but you're not going to. Like, you can't make me write you a receipt and take your money. I'm not doing it, because if it doesn't come through and I don't get it, you're not going to call me and yell at me over it.
Right.
I'm not doing that. Schultz liked that in the end, and Schultz got the idea to start Silencer Co. because he couldn't get his Black Box can.
He couldn't get it as fast as he wanted it.
He never got it. They never made it. They never released it.
They never released that.
So Schultz had this strong desire to make, in essence, a Black Box, which was the Silencer Co. Osprey. And that's really where that product came from.
Was that a 9mm can? What can was that? What caliber was that?
We started it in 9 and 45 and 40, and then later dropped the 40. But, 9 and 45.
Okay.
So that's kind of how we got, like, to that point, and which was kind of cool for me because that was the first patent that I ever got, like the Sparrow patent on the clamshells. That seems awesome. Pretty good for like cool. a guy that barely graduated from high school, right? Yeah. And then like you made something and it like took over the market. And then I'm the one that came up with the base idea for the locking mechanism on the Schultz. At first just had it on some O-rings, and I was like, that sucks.
That's not going to work. No.
He was showing it everybody. He's like, yeah, I really like this, but Pappas hates it. And we talked and kind of worked through the locking mechanism on it. And then we made and sold that, and then we had 2 products.
And so then when did you start to see the company really get some traction and start to scale?
Probably, and it happened pretty fast. We went through a few years of doubling. We would 100% increase output sales, the whole thing. Twice as much next year as we did the year before, and on and on. I think we did 4 times one year. And then we bought SWR and brought in their products, changed them a little bit. At first we had it. We used the SWR logo in conjunction with ours, and then later dropped that, and the SWR part kind of faded away, but that Spectre was always a lot of competition for the Sparrow. So we bought that and then changed the Spectre a little bit, and then we sold the Spectre as well. So that was kind of cool. I'd say 2000 and maybe 10-ish.
So you guys had
you could be like, okay, this is like, it's going to work. It's good.
Yeah. So you guys had to grind for a few years to get it to start.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I mean, for me, once I quit the Gunstar, I went for about a year where I didn't get paid at all. That was kind of tough.
I imagine.
And then my Mrs. Pappas, not thinking I was a genius at all, pretty much thought I was stupid, and she voiced that a couple times. Yeah. So I knew what she was thinking because she told me.
Yeah, you got told a couple of times.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As tends to happen.
But then we actually started doing pretty good. And I don't begrudge them for firing me because I became, I get that. And I wasn't against this, taking great risks to start.
Yeah.
But you have to
do
take
that.
risks to start. But once we started to make solid income, we could just never get out of our own way. Not all of us. I was like, look, we're making great money. I'm making more money than I've ever made in my life.
Yeah.
I'm super happy. This is going great. I love it. Let's just keep doing this. And everybody else wanted private airplanes and, private islands and all that. They had bigger. I just wanted to be comfortable, not lazy. It's not the money that I seek. It's just the fight.
Right.
Right. It's the struggle, not but they were money. And we ended up at a crossroads, if you will. And we were several $1 million in debt, and everybody else wanted to quadruple that. And I was like, no, I'm not doing it. And I won't sign, and we're not going all these millions in debt. I can't do it. It'll freak me out.
What was the justification on what they just
expand?
Yeah, but they wanted to do it on too big of a scale that made you feel uncomfortable?
Well, why would you expand if you were making good money? How do you get the money? You're making money. Why not get paid off and then take some more money home, right? Yeah. And not have the debt and not have the worry.
Correct.
Whether you're making money or not, if you have debt, you're in debt. Your money's not your own. It's somebody else's. Right. You owe it. So I wanted to become debt free and then, go from there. But our solution to the problem was I resigned as a manager, and then the other people could sign. And when I did that, I did do that, and they did get the loan, and that absolved me of all
the other debt.
It washed away all my credit sins, and I had no debt at the time. Then nothing. Yeah. I wasn't on any of it. It was all fresh, and the big loan paid off all the small ones, and they were in debt. And then I lasted about 3 months after that, and then they pretty much just said, we can't, you have shares, we get it, you're an owner, but you're not working here, and you can't come here anymore, and you're not welcome.
Oh, wow.
And then I went home, and it was on Halloween, and we were trick-or-treating I've got 2 daughters, and they were little at the time, and we're trick-or-treating with them, and I told my wife, I said, I think I got fired today. I'm not welcome back.
What did she say to that?
She said, they can't fire you. You're an owner. And I was like, I thought the same thing, but I think they can, and I think they did. So then I ended up selling my shares, and that was that, and then done with Silencer Co., right?
And how did that make you feel? Because there's nothing worse than that. I've experienced that before too. And so what was that like for you when you came to that realization, oh wow, I just put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and intellectual property into this to grow it where I was at, and now I am no longer part of that.
Okay, I have a great answer to that, and I'll put it in 2 words.
Yeah.
It sucked. That's how I would sum that up.
Yeah.
But retrospect, looking back, you know how you had a really good friend in high school and he turned out to be kind of a dick and you're glad you're not friends with him anymore, but at
yes.
the time,
yeah. I've had that happen.
Good friends with him, right? Yeah. We all have in whatever capacity. It's like that now. Now that I'm not in it and I can look back, I am like, well, it was hard. It's like, I suppose, going through a divorce or anything like that. Once you're out the other side, you're happy that you're not in it anymore.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I am. It hurt at the time, though.
Yeah. And so how did you emotionally navigate that? Did you have an outlet? Were you just going out to the range and shooting? And what was your thought process of what are you going to do next? Because did you have the, okay, what the fuck now conversation with yourself? What now?
Yeah, but I grew up in a time when if you cried, you'd get spanked till you quit crying.
Yeah.
So I think just freaking balled it up, just moved on. I don't know. What do you do?
Right.
You just forge forward with life and take it as a hit on the chin and keep at it.
So then where'd you go from there?
I went to another gun store called the Gun Vault, and I worked there for about a year, right? In that amount of time. And a partner in Dead Air, Eric Rogers, called me, and he had tried to contact me, but didn't have my cell phone number, but he called Silencer Co., and they're like, he's not here anymore. And they gave him my number, and he called me. And we started talking a little bit, and we talked for a little while, and on and off for a, month or 3 or something. And he was like, you want to do another silencer company? And I was like, I kind of do. And then we talked about how we do it and what we would do and the things that we would do differently in the manufacturing and all of that. And I said, I would never do the same thing that we did, the thing that I learned at Silencer Co. To put it in a nutshell, if you have a machine shop and that's what you do, if you are making 3% of your parts are bad, you're going out of business.
Mm-hmm.
If 2% of your parts are bad, you might go out of business. You need to run 1% of your parts bad. That being said, we ran and could never get out from under about a 30% bad parts at Silencer Co. So it just seemed like we spun our wheels. We bought all these machines and hired all these people, but never could really get really good, solid manufacturing under our belts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we made all of our own stuff, like literally made it, but it kind of sucked.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, but I want to do it like Toyota does it, or General Motors does it, or whomever. Sanyo, I mean, pick whoever you want. Like these people that make a TV, they don't make any of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, Toyota doesn't make glass, and they don't make any of the weather stripping and the tires, and they, you buy these like transfer cases, and, GM uses a new process transfer case. Ford uses a Borg Warner. Like they don't make the transfer case or the axles per se. They just, when you start to look at things, you realize these big companies that are more successful don't make every little thing.
Mm-mm.
You design, you engineer, you have made and QC and maybe a little assembly and packaging and distribution. And I think that's a little bit, and that's the way that I wanted to do it. And that was like the big lesson I learned there is I don't want to go through all that trauma again. So that's kind of why, or how we got on the path that we're on now, where we don't have a ton of machines. We don't have any machines in here to speak of, but we do it more like regular manufacturing's done. If you can hands-on it for QC and distribution and all that, then I think you've won.
And then how do you guys handle dealing with the kind of the ebb and flow of a product demand versus like what you were relying on your manufacturing?
Well, see, that's the
vendor
thing.
for?
That's the thing right there, that an up and down in the market with all those machines will just crush you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have and when the market, it is always going to go up and down for whatever the reason, it will do that. When it goes down, you don't have to make the payments, you just order less. And when it goes up, you order more. I mean, it can trail a little bit, but I think it's a easier way to do it.
And so you got contacted by a gentleman while you were working at another gun shop, and what did he say to you?
Well,
he said, you want to start another suppressor company. You said yes,
yeah.
But then how did things progress from there?
He said that he presented me with, he's like, okay, I've thought about it a little bit, and I know some people that can do manufacturing, and I know some people that do like venture capital, some money people.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, and we went out and met with them all. The venture capital people, Vin and Todd, were interested in it. We talked to them. They liked the idea. They said they were in, and at the time, BPI was our contract manufacturer, and BPI at the time wanted to make their own silencer, but they didn't know how to make it. Mm-hmm. But we knew how to make it, but we didn't have the things to make it, so it was like a match made in heaven. So BPI got what they wanted, and we got what we wanted. They made them, and we got to kind of orchestrate the design and how it would be made and do all the R&D and yada, yada.
And what year was that?
That would have been probably 14 into, I believe, the show season of 15 is where we actually came onto the scene. SHOT Show of 2015.
And what was your flagship product? What was the first one you offered?
Now, see, unlike the Silencer Co. and a lot of startup silencer manufacturers, we started with 30 caliber rifle can because we knew how to make cans, so we didn't have to start at the
Was that the Sandman?
most basic, easiest. The Sandman
Yeah.
S, L, and TI.
And that was your first offering.
First 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. We came out with those 3 at one time.
And so this is a question I'm always I'm always interested in with people that I talk to that do the things that you're doing in terms of starting and scaling companies. Like, how did you guys come up with your logo and your brand? Like, how did you come up with the Dead Air thing? Where did Dead Air come from?
Eric is like talented and good at and interested in and likes to do branding, marketing stuff. And he knew Josh Lakaitis from Tap Rack Bang. So we started to talk to Josh, and we were trying to figure out what kind of a logo, and Eric came up with the name and just liked the name, and I'm not a big name guy. I wouldn't have any product names if it were up to me, not one. The Wolverine, I like the name of the Wolverine, and I think that's fitting. But other than that, I really don't care, right? It's just, it's not my thing. I would have a chart, and I would lay it out by bore size and type of material and length. And that is what the cans would be called. So if I told you the name of it, you'd know it was a 6mm can made out of titanium or what have you.
Yeah.
Right? It'd be easy. But that's not the direction that we went, and it's not a normal direction. And I get it. Like, I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying what I like. Josh had drawn that logo for someone for something, and I can't remember who or for what. And he was like, how do you like this? And I was like, I like that. I mean, it has no meaning. It doesn't have anything to do with anything. Like, he showed me that logo, and I was like, let's just do that. Like, that's a cool looking logo. I could get into that. And so that's how we got our logo.
So you genuinely liked it. You weren't just like, I don't give a
No,
fuck
I liked
about
that
this.
logo.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought the logo was cool.
Yeah.
And I kind of like the fact that it doesn't say anything. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't have any letters. It's just a cool looking logo.
Yeah, it is.
And that appealed to me.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to speak to you. You know, when people come up with a name and they have all these different reasons for what the name means, I'm like, okay, like whatever. I just hear the name. I'm pretty simple that way. I don't think about, you tell me the name and I'll memorize the name and I'll start calling it that, and that'll be its name. Done.
Well, you guys do a great job with your branding. Your branding and marketing is really good. Like, I've always really enjoyed it.
A lot of people to thank for that, right? Because I couldn't do that. You know, all honesty, like I have no ability to do that. I can't. If it wasn't for the fact that I wore pretty much a T-shirt, Levi's, and boots, I couldn't dress myself. I don't know what socks to wear with what kind of shoes. I don't own a suit.
Yeah. Well, see, now it's a good thing you know how to run a broom pretty good, you know?
And empty a garbage.
Yeah, and empty a garbage, you know?
Now, see, I think the thing that makes, I think you need to focus on and know tell me your strengths and where your weaknesses are. You need to find a person that has strengths in that area, and then you need to work with that person.
Yeah.
That's how I've made it. And so all the parts of Dead Air that I don't have the ability to do, we have someone that's pretty awesome at it to come in and do that. And that's been lucky that way. Like Eric couldn't do the silencer part of it, right? That's why I was like, I can't either. We had Todd McGee was an investor at Silencer Co.
Yeah.
And he got a job. He left Silencer Co. and went back to the medical industry. And so I called Todd and I was like, Todd, bro, you want to do the silencer thing again? He was like, no, but I was like, but you have to. Like, we need your engineering,
brain,
SolidWorks, drawing. You need to do the things that we can't do. So luckily Todd came over.
And so then what role do you play in like the design process?
I'd say base idea sometimes, not on everything obviously, but I'm kind of more conceptual because I can't draw, and I'm not, that's just beyond my ability to do all that math and all that technical stuff. But I can tell you what I want. And I can explain, like, can we do this? And, like, with the Wolverine, like, I knew, I could see, like, I want the mount. It needs to accomplish these things. And Todd drew that mount. And
how do these things come to you? They come to you while you're sleeping at night, or, like, in the morning while you're making coffee? Or, like, when do the lightning bolt aha moments for product hit you?
I don't know that say with the Wolverine, Gary Hughes used to work with us, and he wanted to do an AK can, and so did I.
He loves his AKs.
He does.
Absolutely loves them.
So we talked about it a lot. I wouldn't say that it was like something that I was like, oh, let's do this. No, like it is kind of a small idea, and then it grows and through a bunch of different conversations. And I don't think there's a lot of aha moments like the Sparrow.
Yeah.
Right? You don't get a lot of those. They just kind of grow and just get bigger, and then you kind of narrow down and you're like, okay, now like I can really get a piece of paper and a pencil and kind of show you what can we do this like this. And then you need a guy like Todd to put the numbers to it. So I don't want to figure out what the thread sizes are or what have you.
Is that your favorite can that Dead Air does? Is
100%.
The Wolverine is?
Yeah.
Why do you love it so much?
I like the versatility of a Wolverine. A Wolverine can be, we make a adapter that will take it to 1 3/8 mount. So a regular hub mount.
Yeah.
So a Wolverine can be adapted to more mounting platforms. You have a lot of cans that take a 1 3/8 hub, check, but they're not going to make it on a Wasser 10. Like it'll blow it up, right? The barrel's too crooked. You need a Wolverine for that. No other can is going to go as at home and fit on all those communist garbage rods like a Wolverine. Plus, you can put it on like a decent rifle that regular Western civilized people use, and it's awesome.
It's awesome. What other platforms have you seen it work really good on?
I really favor it on a 20-inch AR-15
Yeah.
on a rifle. Like that's a favorite thing for me. I think it's super good on any kind of HK91 G3 or clone thereof, or for that matter, 93 or 33 as it were, and an FAO. Wolverine is super good at being put on rifles that are very heavily gassed or, general speak, don't enjoy having a can put on them. FNC, that'd be a great example of it. Something that normally kind of gets hurt by a can by that little bit of extra back pressure is not what you would consider a great can host. Like an AK. Not a great can host.
Yeah,
it can be, but not in its current overgassed form where it starts to try to rip the rear trunnion out of the receiver, through the rivets, that sort of thing. But a AK with something like K&S gas piston or a new kit build with a smaller port on a U.S. barrel or combination thereof and a Wolverine, pretty awesome.
When did you guys launch the Wolverine? What year?
I'd have to look, but I would think probably 17, 18, 17, somewhere in there. It's a pretty old product for us.
And do you guys have any process or procedure here to like go back and look at your old legacy designs and like do the new 2.0, 3.0, 4.0 thing with them, or no?
Of course we do.
And what's next with the Wolverine then? Can you make me one in titanium?
No.
Why not?
Because that would be a very short lifespan product.
Yeah.
And then you'd be wanting me to buy you a new one, and I'd be like, that sucks for me.
Warranty. It's a bad deal for me.
Yeah, it would be brutal.
Okay. So there's nothing.
There's, as it sits right now today, right this minute, there is very little talk of changing the Wolverine in any way. But I would tell you, if you...
when you tell me that, what it makes me want to do, right?
Make me tell you the truth.
Make you sit down and put pencil to paper again and make me one.
I would say this, this is a better way to answer your question. Yeah. If you look at current trends and what we're doing, and things that are going on, and then look at product that is older, then you could surmise that, things may progress into a more futuristic way of manufacturing.
Well, I think based on...
I'll tell you that.
Yeah, based on what you're saying there, like one of my questions for this interview was, how do you feel, and this is a great time to ask, is how do you feel about 3D printing, and what do you think is going to happen with the advancements in 3D printing in regard to performance and design of suppressors?
I think there's a lot of cases where 3D printing is like the right answer.
Mm-hmm.
But I would tell you this about 3D printing. It can't print a simple 90 degree. There's no way to do that. 3D printing, it can only print up on so much of an angle. It can't go over and across.
Mm-hmm.
So not everything can be 3D printed. It can't print certain looking structures. It can't print a cube, a very basic shape. It can't do it. It doesn't have the ability to, not that it couldn't print one. I shouldn't say that. It's the wrong application for it. And it couldn't print one suspended up. It could start and print one.
Yeah.
I get it. I don't want people to, take this for what it's worth. It's just not that good at certain things. And at certain things, it's super good. It prints very natural, twisty, flowy shapes, like the bone structure. That's one of those magical things that uses very little material and is very strong for how small it is.
Mm-hmm.
Bones are pretty amazing that way. So it could print things that look like that. And of course, it has some advantages in straightness, and it is one piece of metal, so there's no assembly. You can print things that don't have threads, and they don't have weld joints,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't have press fits, and things of that nature. So I think when used in the right spot, it's awesome. I see companies that are dead set on like printing's the future, printing's the way to go, we're printing everything. I don't know that that's wise. I think you should do a blend of both additive and subtractive. Use the thing that works the best for what you're trying to do, not just do it because that's what you do. That's a trap. Sorry, that might have been a long-winded way to answer your question.
I was just trying to think about how we could do a 3D printed Wolverine that's maybe like a hybrid of like titanium and Inconel.
You could print a Wolverine. It could be printed. A Wolverine has been a pretty solid product for us at this point. The one thing that I would like to do with the Wolverine is switch it. It's almost 9mm, and you can sneak 9mm through some of them depending on how the wire cut went in them. It's not big enough to put 9mm through. This is a non-normal example that can sneak it through if everything's perfect. It is not a 9mm cam by any means, and there'd be no forgiveness in this. Don't shoot 9mm through your Wolverine. What if the Wolverine bore was don't do it? What if the Wolverine's bore was adjusted to 9mm?
Mm-hmm.
And then it would take all manner of pistol mount, 3-lug, and micro, xeno, and chemo, and it would take boosters for tilting barrel, reciprocating barrel handguns. You could put it on an MP5 or a 300 Win Mag rifle. That would be kind of cool, right?
I think so, yeah.
Then there would be no can on the planet that could span the amount of hosts that a Wolverine could do, given all the pistol caliber, plus the rifle caliber, plus that whole Pinko Kami deal.
Okay, well, you got what? Three months left. There's still 1 quarter left this year. Like, I think we should get after it.
We should too. We'll get there. Look, we go as hard as we can, and in business there's a ton of problems to solve along the way, and I'd say we're not, it's not a passion to do business like for money. You have to keep business going though, right?
Mm-hmm.
To stay in business. You need to more focus on a Wolverine as a very small selling, that if you had a board of directors, they would have said no to the Wolverine, and they would have been right. A Wolverine is never going to be a big selling. That is only here because of interest from people here, not to make money. The Wolverine, I'm not saying it loses money, but you could take the Wolverine away and you wouldn't really notice it. It's not a big mover. But it's awesome for people that dig a Wolverine. I dig a Wolverine, and there's like all the Wolverine people out there. What do the AK people do without a Wolverine?
Right.
They do the best they can to square up their trash and try to get a can on without ruining it.
I'm pretty sure that's the reason why they came out with bore gauges for rifles, is for that specific reason, right?
When you're rifling and OD, your barrel's kind of like this. You put a bore gauge, and all I see is it rubs the side of the can.
Yeah, it's not good.
There's no way to fix that.
No. Yeah, which if you're listening, make sure you got an AK, make sure you do that, because if you don't, you can have problems.
It's a great idea to bore rod. It really is.
Yeah.
It's a great idea to keep up on that. It would be like, if you were like a big M1 Garand guy, you want to watch your throat erosion, and you want to gauge your gas cylinder, and you want to keep an eye on your gun, and or any gun that some of them don't really take too much in the way of gauges other than headspace gauges. Like if you like that rifle that you shot the tar off, that PCM. See, I'd have seen when she swallowed a field gauge.
Yeah.
It probably took a no-go gauge at that point, but probably didn't take a field gauge. But I would tell you that 5.56 NATO headspace gauges are a good investment if you're going to shoot a lot of 5.56 guns.
And what is your favorite who makes your favorite AR these days, or do you have a favorite?
I don't know. That's a good question. I have a favorite variant, but I don't know if I have it narrowed down to a favorite exact one in that, but I am far and above a rifle guy. I like a rifle. I like a 12-inch gas tube. I like a 20-inch barrel. I way favor a rifle. Now, I have a pile of SBRs and various stoner-esque firearms, of course, like everyone, but I don't find myself wanting to shoot them much. I went through a little bit of an SBR phase, and I've kind of came out of it, and I've kind of gone back to, I like a rifle, and I enjoy shooting a rifle, and that's what I shoot. And I don't find it super long. I know people listening to this are going to be like, dude, he's an idiot. The rifle's too long. And I'm like, don't get one then. Right. Get a shorter one. I don't care. Get a hacksaw. Yeah. Do what you need to do. Yeah. I like a rifle.
Yeah, he just built where'd he go? He just built a great rifle.
Oh, you haven't been in my office?
Not yet, no.
Oh, I'll show you. I've got some rifles in there.
Okay. Yeah, we're rifle fans too.
Nice. I like that.
I mean, I'm the same way. We have our SBRs, but we've primarily been messing around with DMRs lately. He built a beautiful LMT 16-inch.
Nice.
The LMT he built, we were banging on steel at 1100 with a 16-inch gun with your Nomad on it the other day.
That's nice.
Shoots good, sounds good, smooth. I mean, it's not light, but it's a fun gun to shoot. It's a really awesome gun to shoot.
I become more and more of a fan of watching impacts. And I know that it doesn't have a lot of recoil, but over a long amount of time, anything gets to wear on you. If you didn't get out of bed for a week, your skin would be rubbed off. You'd have bed sores.
Yeah.
Sorry. I know sheets aren't super abrasive, but after long enough time they are.
Yeah.
It'll rub the skin right off of you. I just like the way that a rifle recoils, and I like the way that you can feel it go into battery, and it's just super easy to feel it go to bolt open, and it's a longer duration and a smoother operation, and you don't need to tell me where I hit. I'm seeing it.
What is your favorite rifle that you own right now in that category?
I've got it has an Old Knights handguard on it, and it's got and forgive me, I don't know the model number of it. It's a Trijicon ACOG. It's the Navy one. Yeah. With the little honeycomb flash hider on it.
Yep.
Set for BDC for 855. 20-inch rifle. Just a nice, well-built. It's got a FN barrel on it with the new barrel steel. Cold Hammer Force 1 and 7. Nice trigger.
You suppress
bolt. It? I do. I usually put a Wolverine on it. I've got it set up on Xeno flash hider, and I've got a Wolverine that's set up in that same thing. So that's kind of my go-to setup for it. It sounds amazing. Super low tone. No gas. Nice rifle to shoot.
Nice. Awesome. Well, where do you want to see the future of? Is there any other products that you guys are going to do besides suppressors? Are you ever going to branch outside of that, of what your core product offering is, and get into anything else, or are you just going to stay focused on suppressors and muzzle devices?
I think pretty much just stay in the suppressor.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying there is no chance whatsoever, but I see a lot of, not unless we came up with something that we really wanted to make. I can tell you that we're never going to make AR-15 charging handles. Like, why?
Right.
When I see a company do that, I'm like, you're just doing that for the money, because I could buy one of various 50 different charging handles that does the same thing. Like, that's just something you do for your brand loyalists, I think. Or, I don't know, that seems very Me Too. A lot of that stuff. Now, if we do venture outside of the cans, they're not saying that we won't, but it's got to be something that's needed and something that we want. Like, do you want another choice of bolt carrier, or maybe suppressed bolt carrier? That's a bad example. Do you want another choice of AR-15 trigger? Like, would you care if there was 10 other kinds of triggers? How many choices of triggers do you have now? 100?
Yeah. And there's only usually
like who cares?
3 or 4 that I stick with, because they have proven themselves.
But just saying, like, or that just seems so Me Too, or like, I don't know. When I see silencer companies that dabble in different things like that, sometimes I just think, okay, like, good on you, like, do what you want, but I'm not excited about that. Like, who would be?
What about optimizing gas systems, like, across the board?
Yeah.
Like you mentioned,
Sure.
like
I mean,
having something that you drop in that, like, essentially tunes the gun, like something like you've got your suppressor, your muzzle device, your gas tube, and then maybe some
like a K&S piston or something like that.
around your bolt carrier group that helps mitigate and manage gas.
Totally.
Yeah, and then
I think that's where, I mean, those are the things that we talk about, and that would be the kind of product that we would come out with that wasn't a silencer or very specific silencer accessory or whatever.
Yeah, I was just curious.
I mean, that'd be needed, right?
Yeah, and it's in line with what
Yes.
is what you guys are doing with your
Right.
core competency. So, yeah, I was just curious if you guys ever had any plans to do anything like that. So, where you see the company progressing to in the next 5 years?
Hopefully, I mean, the most important thing, we keep the ability to, or it just happenstance that we dodge legality. Like, I hope they don't make laws against it and ban it, and, you know, that sort of congressional kind of bulldozer doesn't come and plow over us.
Yeah.
If that doesn't happen, then, I mean, you've got clear runway to stay in business, and who knows where you'll go, right?
I think in terms of NFA stuff, I mean, yeah, the federal government is always going to try and do what the federal government's going to do, but I think Utah does a pretty good job of maintaining good 2A states' rights for its citizens. So
Agree, unless they did like a Ronald Reagan thing and banned production of silencers like they did machine guns. You know, something of that nature. That's what I'm saying then. Like, it's all out the window then. And I think that's a tenuous, like, if you're going to be in the firearms industry, you have to be kind of cognizant of that and treat each year like it's your last, right?
And then what is do you have a go to ship plan in place in case something like that were to happen? Like, do you have something that you could transition into, or that you would, what's basically fireproofing that from happening right now?
Well, I don't think you can fireproof that from happening. Or do you mean on a personal level?
No, I meant on a company level. Like, how does your company survive if something like that happens?
I don't know. We don't have a big, giant plan to make bicycle sprockets or anything at this time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we disband. I think that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're dealing with a lot of gun guys, and if you stop the guns, then I think we pretty much just go our separate ways. Good question. I guess it depends on how that unraveled.
Yeah, I was just curious if that is something that keeps you up at night.
No.
What does keep you up at night?
Nothing. I think when you get to a certain point, and it makes Mrs. Pappas gets angry with me, or envious, which turns to anger sometimes. I go to bed when I'm tired. I get in bed. I go to sleep. I don't worry about anything. Like, at this point, I'm not saying it's always been like that or should be like that for everyone, but I'm pushing 60 years old. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? Like, I'll just I'll retire right now. I get on that sweet Social Security, 59 and a half or 62 or whatever, and just do it. Tap out.
So you're not going to be an owner or founder that dies at his desk. Do you have an exit strategy?
Well, I don't know about that. I might be.
Okay.
I would tell you, if I had it my way as it sits right now, I would stay active to a degree. And you're talking about a maybe 5 to 7 year plan, something like that. Like, you can't expect a 70-year-old man to travel hard like that. I would hope not, unless you didn't like him. But I would take a few trips and maybe do a little part-time. Something like that. Like, I like to work. I like to stay busy, but I could do with a little bit more home time. I mean, it's the age that I am, right? I've got to start thinking about, retirement and moving on with my work life. I don't know. Good question. It could happen at any minute. I'm not too worried about it now.
Fuck it. We're going to Hawaii. Yeah, no, that's good.
We're definitely not going to Hawaii.
No, what's wrong with Hawaii? You don't like Hawaii? Well, they don't have suppressors there, so I guess that is.
Well, I have a reason, like a solid reason for why I don't like Hawaii, because it sucks.
Okay.
That's my.
Yeah, that's true.
I went there and I couldn't wait to leave.
What was it that bothered you about Hawaii?
It was just, and I don't know what island I went on.
You don't remember which one it was, huh?
Well, I don't know the name of it, but the big. Maybe it's not the big island, but you know where they filmed Hawaii 5-0?
Yeah, I think that's Oahu.
Okay,
yeah,
that's where I went.
Was Honolulu?
It had the best thing about it, the most interesting. I spent about 2 days at the Pearl Harbor and the
that's Oahu.
Yeah, ship and all the aircraft stuff they had. I thought that was awesome, super entertaining and educational.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was dilapidated. Like, okay, like it's a nice place, but it's all packed in and busy, and I don't want to live there or be there. I was glad to get back to Utah.
Yeah. How long were you there for?
4 or 5 days.
Okay, so not terribly long. So
Too long. It was terribly long.
Oh, because too long for you. Okay.
What I would have liked to have done, if I had it my way, would have been flown in late afternoon, maybe had lunch, and then flown out that evening.
That would have been your best.
That would have been a perfect amount of Hawaii for me. Seen it.
Yep.
Walked around on a little bit, tasted it.
Ate a fish taco.
Smelled it, and then came back.
And then gone. Okay.
Not a traveler.
So I'm just gathering that you're more of a homebody.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Awesome. Well, you got it. Do you have any questions?
Oh, ship them out, brother.
Yeah. If it's not bolted down, sell the shit.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Okay, we have this little freaking Sims can.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good.
It's all good.
We got to the spicy stuff.
No, it's all good.
Yeah, no, dude. You can ask me anything. It's totally fine. Like, okay, Pew Science. So Jay is a very smart guy, and I've talked with Jay several times. And the last real conversation I had with him was at NRA a few years ago. His business is to charge companies, I believe he wanted either $4,000 or $5,000 per can to give us data, but we've never paid Jay to get numbers on our cans. In my kind of basic thought is, instead of charging us, you can just go buy whatever can. You can, if you want to do a dead air can, buy a dead air can. Charge your people.
Right.
If you're not charging them enough, charge them more. And then give your customers what they want. My kind of overall kind of thing with him was, if you have a product, like we buy product and we sell product, like do that. I don't believe, I'm more of a fan of the Thunder Beast data, and we just went to their Thunder Beast. I didn't go this year, but a couple of our guys, 3 of our guys went and took cans, and they run everyone's can on the same gun with the same ammo for centerfire rifle and handgun, and everyone gets on the same thing, and they publish the data in just a raw form, so you can run it through AHA or A-weight it or do whatever you want with it.
Right.
You can process it down and put it into any kind of format that you want, but it puts everyone on a even keel. Like Jay does put data out, and this data is the data that he collects, and whether you like it or not, or sometimes he shows, the data can be good or bad for the person, but like that's like saying I'm going to charge you for something. Like I'm going to charge you and you're going to pay me, and if you don't like it, I don't care. You may not like it, but you're still paying for it. Like I don't get why you pay a guy to do that and then add, if you want to do a honest and you want to make data, then make data. Like, I don't think that, and I tried to explain this to him, you shouldn't be over here talking to me. Like, you talking to me, that's like dirty data. Mm-hmm. Like, why? Just do your thing. Like, the UL people, the Underwriters Laboratory people, they just get product and test it. Like, I like that. I just don't want to participate in paying for testing. And I've got nothing against Jay. Like, do your thing. Like, be you. Yeah. Knock yourself out. Like, I'm happy for you. I'm not trying to resist. I just don't care.
Yeah. So what you're saying is his model doesn't really resonate with what you want to do. What?
It's not. Is it? Let me ask you this. Is it clean third-party data? Like when party one pays the living tar out of party two to make this data. Like, I don't know. I don't think it is. The Thunder Beast data, they don't charge you.
Yeah.
They do it in front of everybody. Any industry person that wants is invited to go, and you could go there with your product and stand there and watch it. And if you have any questions, ask them. And you're going to get numbers posted right along. That seems very clean. Those are good numbers.
Yeah. And that's the way that they've done it. We just got turned on to that, didn't we? Not too long ago, yeah. We just got told about the whole Thunder Beast thing.
Cool thing.
We just found out about that, last week?
I like to, because it works both ways. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't expect you to be, like, we have data. We get data. We test all the time. We have the same or similar way of doing it that, say, everyone else does it.
Yeah. But
aren't the numbers generated by our product more believable to you when they come from someone else? Like, I'm just going to give you a thing that's like a deal. If you vary slightly the angle, you can watch me shoot it and you think I'm not varying the angle, but I am. And that starts to affect it and all these different things, and you can cherry pick everything, and I just don't think that's right. Like, maybe certain ammo produces better numbers, so you
use that.
Yeah, but and it would be fine if certain ammo produced better numbers if you use that on everybody's can, but maybe you don't want to use it on everybody's can. Maybe you want to use a different kind of ammo, and how's that fair? Same day, same guy, same equipment, same place, same everything. It just seems like cleaner data. Where's the ulterior motive?
So you like the Thunder Beast model better because you think it's more, you think it's cleaner and easier to interpolate.
Well, you can interpolate it any way you want. You have the full raw data, but I know it's cleaner because you can watch them do it, and they'll run everybody's can in the same way, same shooter, same ammo, same place, same equipment, same everything.
And are they videoing any of this stuff and putting it up? Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, you could video and see a bunch of pictures of it, and you can go there and take pictures of. It's not closed like that.
What do you think? So do you have ideas on like what would be a better way to collect the data sets needed to establish performance metrics and variables against your competition?
Well, I think that's the best way. I mean,
the way that Thunder Beast is doing it.
Yeah, that's all your competition's there. You need one that wants to. You don't have to, but most people do, and you see most silencer companies there participating in it. So there you have it. Now, I've got that printed out sitting on my desk. We could look at it, and you can look up any brand of can, model that was tested, and they do hundreds of cans.
I'd love to see that.
It's awesome.
Yeah, we just found out about it the other day. He did a dive into it, and I did not yet, so I'm still relatively ignorant on what they're doing, so I'd love to look at it.
Yeah, that would be like believing GM for their estimated EPA. MPG,
yeah.
Sorry.
No, I knew what you were talking about.
Whatever.
I knew what you were getting at.
I've never seen a car get the kind of mileage it said it gets on the sticker.
Neither have I.
But if a guy had one and said, I get this kind of mileage, you'd be like, bingo, like, check, that's probably what I'm going to get.
Yeah.
But you could grab a couple cans, and we'll talk about it. It won't be very much I get they look a little different on the outside.
Do you need a pee break before we jump into the product stuff? Or
No, dude, I think I'm okay.
Okay.
I don't know that at this point.
Infection hasn't set in yet.
Well, and I could have complete and utter, shut off from swollen prostate. Maybe I need to pee, but I can't tell.
You can't tell.
So it's fine.
Okay.
Do you need to?
No, I'm good. Are we good?
Yeah, no, the other thing was undisclosed heat test, right? So how much, can anyone do that?
Well, you're right. He doesn't exactly tell you what program he runs it to convert it to a number, nor does he tell you everything about the thing. And that is, I've heard that referred to as wiggle room. And that wiggle room could be wiggled either direction, which is look, I'm not telling anybody where to get their data do what you want. And Jay services a amount of people that like what he does, and I think that's wonderful. He should keep doing it, and they should keep liking it. There's nothing wrong with that. I just don't like it, and I like the open and on the table, and you can talk to forgive me, I can't think of their names right now, super nice guys. The two young kids at Thunder Beast are freaking smart, and they will answer any question you have. Yeah, they'll be there in 4 hours. Great bunch of people and totally open, and I like that. Plus, it's cheaper. You don't have to pay for it, and it's one of those internet conversations that I choose not to engage in. I don't want to argue with people about it. I don't do what you want. If you don't like the way our cans sound, then don't get one.
Yeah, buy somebody else's.
Yeah, I don't know. It's well, there's just more to it than that, right? There's a little subjective, and it just kind of is what it is, and you just can't put it all on a spreadsheet. Some of it, like you say, you may experience it in a different. I've never seen anyone sound test in a dirty freaking single wide with needles all over the floor. That's not a place where you sound test. I don't know what it sounds like when you do it in there.
Right.
A cop that's doing a raid is most likely
Yeah.
to shoot in a hallway. That might.
Yeah.
Well, it might be, but how would you? There's no. If the LE made a standardized test with X width and height the hallway, X distance with X insulation, but they'd have never asked for that. And what does it matter? It changes all the time. And who cares? Tell them to put in some earplugs and go to work, man. You're working. You're not pleasure shooting here.
Put your earplugs in. And
This
get to
isn't
work.
an optional shoot for you. You've been told to go in there. Okay. Printed versus non-printed. So there is obviously some slight. It has to be changed to be printed. And I don't want to bore people, but just...
Oh, please bore everyone, because we're data nerds over here and we love this shit.
In case there's someone that hasn't actually seen this process or looked into it, think of it as a little wiper comes across and then laser welders weld the metal and it keeps wiping. You get to decide how much material gets deposited, how fast it goes, on and on. So how finely, what the resolution of the print is. And then when this part is printed on a printer, it still looks like there's nothing there. And then when you drain all the powder off, the inside's totally full of powder. That can't be printed because the angles are too close to 90. There's too many, so it's physically impossible to print this can. So it had to be changed to a degree that it could be printed, and the powder has to come out. If you tell it to print an enclosed shape, it's full of powder, right? So when you get it printed and cut it off the plate, you've got to be able to shake that powder out of there. And if you have a bunch of things that hold the powder, like what would look like a yellow jacket trap or a minnow trap, it can't get out. You can't get it out. So it's got to be able to be drained. So the architecture changed on it in that regard and got mildly lower back pressure, and in some cases mildly quieter. But it would be very hard for you to blind taste test those two cans. In other words, if you possess this one, I would not get that one, and vice versa. So I think we decided to print it for the no welds and to make a straighter product.
And is this your first year getting into 3D printed technology?
No, we print a 9mm can called the Mojave.
And when did you release that one? Like, how long have you been doing the 3D print stuff for?
2 years.
2 years, okay. And the Mojave was the first go into that?
Mm-hmm.
And so then this year you guys have the Nomax?
We have a Nomax and we have a Nomad, and they are titanium cans.
Yep.
Those are TI rifle cans.
And those are printed?
Bolt gun cans.
Yep.
And they're printed. We don't make a welded TI can. We make a welded 17-4 can, but that's a tougher can and can take a higher round count, more rounds, more heat. It's not titanium, right? So it'd be the opposite of your TI Wolverine that we're never going to make.
Listen, I don't think we should take it off the table. We should
let's just
go home and dream about it a little bit.
Let's just set it aside for right now. We could come back to it. So you have your standard Nomad TI and your Nomad TIL, and then those are now printed, right? So you only have your 17-4 Nomad and Nomad L.
Okay.
Welded. Those are still welded. And then we have a 33 caliber rifle can in the Nomax, which
is that can right there? Is that
yes.
Yeah.
A Nomax is an exceptionally good sounding can. We'll look it up on that little chart and see how it does against other things.
Yeah, I would love to.
I think you'll like it. It was shot on 308, I believe, not 338, but outstanding 338 can.
It is an absolute delight.
It's hard to believe. I could tell you it's super quiet, but once you hear it, you'd be like, damn, and these get that a lot. These are outstandingly.
What's outside diameter on this guy?
I think it's 1.3? No, 1.7? Sorry.
Yeah.
Sometimes all the numbers get jumbled up with me. There's so many to know, and I hate to be wrong. We have a little flip chart data thing. I like to be like, hold on, let me tell you exactly, and be like, right, it's this.
And then
it's a little over 1.5.
Have you guys shot any 300 black out of this?
We haven't shot a lot of black out of this. This is our quietest. Either of these would be our quietest black can. And second in our lineup would be Wolfman, our 9 subgun can.
Yeah, we've got it.
That's Wolfman. A performer on black, and that will get under it, but not by much.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious.
That's more geared to mag rifle.
And then you guys did these, and then you guys did the Lazarus in 6mm. And is that 3D printed as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's Haynes 282 printed, so super tough. Like an Inconel family of alloy.
Are you guys going to do any titanium versions of that or no?
No, I don't think. Not right now. I mean, maybe in the future, but there's no plans of it at this time.
Do you guys want to talk about anything that you're going to release at SHOT 25? Or is that still to be decided?
I'd get in a lot of trouble if I did
that. Okay.
Well, if I was, I don't know, MDMA, is that a date rape drug?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
If you'd have slipped me that and I had no ability to say what I was, stop me from saying anything, then I could tell you. But other than that, I just can't.
Okay. All right. So it's just a wait and see. Are you guys dropping new stuff at SHOT Show 25?
We are.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'll be excited then. I will definitely.
I can't wait for you to come by the booth.
I'm going to. I'm going to hassle you.
When you come by, probably no one will want to be talking to me, and we'll talk.
Yeah, I'm going to come up and be like, where's my titanium Wolverine at?
And I'm going to pull it out. No, I didn't say that. I'm not going to have it.
Okay. I mean, I just think you should maybe just go home and just sleep on it a little bit.
You're the only person that's ever asked for that.
Yeah, well.
I'm
a visionary.
I like your lone wolf kind of. You don't have to be pushed into the group. You think for yourself. I like that.
And if you think that I think there's a way to do it. I like that can too. We talk about that can all the time. As a matter of fact, that's on the list of things to get our hands on. But if we're gonna,
Oh, you don't have one?
not yet. No, we
That's
have
a
we have a
shame.
Wolfman and we have a Nomad.
It's so weird that you would say that because we just got a bunch of them in.
Okay. Well, now that the ATF has unfucked themselves and they're like doing things in days instead of months,
Isn't that awesome?
it's so awesome.
I took advantage of that too.
We're about to do the same thing.
I did a bunch of one-day transfers.
Yeah. Feels
Beautiful.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, even though I could take them home and I put off, I think, more than the average guy because I'm not, it's just so easy. And then you think you're going to do it tomorrow and next week and on and on. And then I put it off once to where I had like 20 things I needed to form. And then I didn't want to spend the money. It's like $4,000.
Yeah.
I'm like, but I don't want, no.
Yeah.
But I finally did it. But now that it's super easy, I'm gonna try to be better, a better person, and keep up with that a little bit more.
We're doing the same thing. So I'm stoked that got fixed finally. I mean, fuck the NFA altogether. My opinion is the NFA shouldn't even exist. But the fact that they finally got the system dialed, because I don't know, I think I was doing a podcast when we first started the podcast 2 years ago. I was talking about like, it's completely ridiculous that it takes as long as it takes to get something transferred when, you know, and my idea at the time was, okay, why don't we just do like a driver's license type ID card that's like your NFA license, and you pay whatever your cost is to get that license. And once you have that license, it's good for a block of time. But then that enables me to go into a retail location and buy something over the counter versus having to wait for 8, 9, 10 months. And then I said, then it's good for the idiots at the ATF because then they can make money on the licensure, and then they can make money on the tax stamp, and government's getting their money and people are getting their suppressors and their product in a timely manner, and it helps streamline stuff for manufacturers. Like, how much is how much is what the ATF has done recently with streamlining things and finally delivering things in days? How has that changed your sales? Are you guys doing less forecasting now than you were before in terms of like, because it's in a weekly, because it's been shortened so drastically? Is it easier for you guys to keep up and manage sales better? No.
It's not easier. It immediately put us very far behind, and we have stayed there. And there doesn't look like at this time a lot of light at the end of the tunnel of getting caught up on.
So you guys are back ordered
orders.
like bad.
It's disgusting. You just can't get it through fast enough.
Do you consider that a good problem to have, or do you think it's...
I consider it a problem, and I wouldn't say it's a bad problem. There's certainly worse problems, but, you know, not enough business will put you out of business for sure. And too much business may or may not put you out of business. That's when people make bad decisions, and then when the business goes back down or normalizes again, can't afford what they've got.
Yeah.
It's good. Like, I'm thankful for it. I'd rather have that, but it would be nicer to have just a nice, steady, more dependable kind of a, you know, if a guy could make 5 or 10% increase or 20% a year, something like that, that'd be nice. It's got a amount of pressure that comes with it too.
Yeah. So how are you guys managing, like, what are your deciding factors on your expanding, like managing your growth? Like, how do you guys make decisions in terms of like how we're going to expand this much this year and add this many people or this much capabilities versus keeping things safe and manageable in the event that the market does make a massive downturn?
You look at what is your choke point and then try to fix that. And I think fixing choke points one at a time is a smarter move than increasing everything across the board, right? Because if you have a, like, here's where things get stopped at forming, then you'd add another forming guy, and you wouldn't add more warehouse and QA and sales, and you'd just fix the one spot that was stopping you from, you know, your worst slowdown. I mean, I don't know that we've ever really talked about that. We talk about what our slowest point is and then how are we going to fix that and then see what the next, because you're not really sure what's going to be the next slow point after that. You just can't tell until it starts to become a problem, and you just keep whack-a-moling,
Yep.
and that gives you a steady and slow growth that's easier to deal with.
How much growth have you guys had in the last 3 years, percentage-wise?
Man, that's a good question. I'd have to look at that, but I'd say substantial growth in the last few years for sure.
Are you as big as you want to be, or do you want to be a little bit bigger than this? Like, when's the cap for you to, like, in terms of size of company and number of employees, that you're like, okay, this is as big as I want to be?
That's an interesting question, and I've never thought of that. I don't think that would never occur to me to ask. As you just keep working and as you keep fixing each problem, I'd say it gets as big as it gets, and that's just the way it is. I don't know that you plan to make it to a certain size. I think that's a valid business question, but also you have to think that for the most part, not all of us, like I say, we have some very brilliant business minds here. But for me specifically, you're just talking to a passion guy that is enjoying what he does for a living and wants to keep doing it and wants to be better at doing it. But I don't have a long term, like, I don't need to make X amount of money to get a Bell Jet Ranger.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to go home, bro.
Yeah.
I just like the work, right?
Yeah.
I just like the fight. You do that and you won't starve, and I think you've won in life.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you'd never sell? Would you sell Dead Air or no?
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, I think there's a couple of things that you could say never to that you would have to have as like a core thing. And I'll give you an example of one of those things for me personally. It wouldn't matter. I've already made the conscious decision that no matter how much money you had sitting on a table, if you left me in a room with it, I've already decided I wouldn't take $1 off of it. No matter how much you didn't deserve it. Like, you decide you're not going to do certain things, and I think those things that you decide that you're not going to do, like you may decide, I'm not going to use needles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
I think that's a good decision.
Mm-hmm.
But you just aren't going to do that. Like, there's certain things you're not going to hurt someone or kill someone or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you decide, and I think you stick with those, but when you start, I don't think you make a decision on not doing something that isn't a negative. Like, I don't per se want to sell, but who knows? Like, then if you started thinking about taking care of your family or had some kind of issues come up and that came across, I don't think it's a negative, like a consequentially bad thing. So I don't know that you'd make that decision.
So no plans to, but specific circumstances may change that dynamic.
Who knows?
Yeah. I think I'd feel the same way.
If somebody came in with just a amazing offer,
Mm-hmm.
like, how would you say no? Or better question, why would you? You'd have to think about that. And the reason that I wouldn't is, then what would you do? Like, you enjoy your work, and that's not going to ever happen again. If you take that money, then what good are you? Like, I like to be, like anyone, useful and needed and have people rely on me.
Purpose,
and, yeah, come into work and work. I'm not totally ready to not do that and retire out, right?
Right.
I don't know, maybe someone comes at us when I'm wanting to retire too.
I mean, it would give you more time to organize your toolbox in the barn.
Wouldn't it, though?
It would.
And I would utilize that time.
I bet you would. Okay. Well, this has been a great interview. How long are we? Yeah, we're at 2:06. I think we can cap it there. You got anything you want to close with?
No, sir. I'd just like to say thanks for coming by, and
thank you so much for hosting us.
Great interview. And
yeah.
I would also like to, I'll bet there isn't a person left that will make it to the end, do you think?
Oh, no. We average, all of our podcasts, we average about 90 minutes to 2 hours.
On a quality guest. I'm just saying.
Right, yeah, the janitor at Dead Air.
I know, but like I hope someone makes it to this, but I get it if they don't. No hard feelings.
It's not looking good, but I will, we did what we could do. We tried.
Doing our best.
Turning chicken shit into chicken soup over here.
Fair.
All right, Mike. Well,
All right,
thanks so
thanks,
much.
brother.
I appreciate you so much. Yeah.
No, my pleasure.
Yeah. All right. Well, you ready to wrap? Okay. Wherever you're at on the globe, thank you so much for joining us for this edition of the Lone Element Podcast. We will catch you next week. Peace.